Every year, USA Today puts together their preseason NFL record projections. Usually some are good, some are bad, some are absolutely terrible, and that's why I want to react to USA Today's record projections for 2023. My first reaction to the predictions from USA Today for all 32 NFL teams. So if that sounds good, don't forget to spike the like button. Let USA Today Sports know in the comment section below what you think of their projections, and let me know what you think of my reaction to their projections. Let's go. It's time to break it down BLV style. Let's begin with the AFC West, where I already see an issue. The Kansas City Chiefs are only going to win 10 games this year? Are you sure about that, pal? I don't know about that one. I do not think the Chiefs are only going to win 10 games. Is Patrick Mahomes missing a bunch of the season? Is Travis Kelce injured or on a new dating show? Something has to go wrong, like really wrong, for the Kansas City Chiefs to not at least win 11 games. So that is bad. Now, not only is that bad, you have the Kansas City Chiefs tied with another franchise in the AFC West, the Denver Broncos. Now, I like Sean Payton as much as the next guy, but I really wonder how much better this offense can get this year. Like, the receiving core to me is still kind of overrated. The running back is coming off of an injury. The tight end is a completely unproven young player. The offensive line should be better, absolutely, but it just feels like the offense, even if Russ gets better, they're not going to be that great. And of course, the defense, yeah, they're pretty rock solid, but they're not like phenomenal. So for them to tie the Chiefs, I mean, that would be an absolutely unbelievable bounce back for Russell Wilson and an amazing season for Sean Payton, Coach of the Year honors. I don't see that happening. I'm not even sure the Broncos will finish second in the division. Maybe not even third. So to have them at 10-7 is extremely bold. To have the Chargers at 7-10, I think, is just as bold. To have Justin Herbert, who just got paid, right? And I went on that rant and everyone seemed to kind of miss the point of the rant. What I was suggesting there is that, yeah, Justin Herbert is good and he deserves to get paid and they should pay him. But they're paying him when the franchise has zero results, when they haven't paid him, before they paid him. So obviously there's something wrong with the Chargers, and USA Today agrees, whether it's the coach, the GM, something. But really, 7-10? With all that talent on the team, getting Rashawn Slater back, JC Jackson back, hopefully plays well this year. They've got too many talented players to go 7-10 with too good of a quarterback. Kellen Moore should be better than what they had at OC. So 8 or 9 wins feels more accurate. 7 feels a bit low. 10, I feel, is probably the average for most people, 9 or 10. And I feel that's about right. But like 7? Then you got the Raiders at 3-14. I just flat out disagree. Like, the Raiders won more games last year than 3 games, I believe. Like a couple more games than that. And they stunk like at the end of games last year. They blew so many games last year in the fourth quarter. I think they blew like 6 games. I think they upgraded quarterback. I think they've got a better receiver room now. I think their offensive line is just as good. I think they're going to run the ball. And their defense, I think, can't be worse. So I kind of view the Raiders as a team that maybe I'm too low on right now. I think 3 wins is too severe. AFC North. The Bengals at 12-5. As long as Joe Burrow is okay, I'm perfectly cool with that one, and we can just move on. The Baltimore Ravens making the playoffs as a wild card. They got the star next to their name at 11-6. Totally cool with that one as well. Pretty much agree with that as well. I'm right in line with USA Today in terms of Bengals, Ravens, both making the playoffs, both being good teams, both maybe winning the division, but I would lean towards the Bengals. I agree. The Steelers at 11-6, I think, is a big time projection. And of course, these are projections, but Kenny Pickett and this offense, I just don't really see it. I don't see what everyone else sees in terms of this big jump that they're going to have. I think Matt Canada might be the worst offensive coordinator in the NFL right now. So I just don't see how they're going to get that much better on offense. Even though the offensive line got better, I think Najee Harris is overrated. I think George Pickens is overrated. I think Deontay Johnson is extremely inconsistent, talented, but inconsistent. I think Allen Robinson is a corpse. And yeah, I just don't really like a lot of their offense as much as other people do. And I think the defense is really good and Mike Tomlin is awesome, but I just feel like they're going to win 9, maybe 10 games. Not 11. Like, I think 8. I think having a losing season for the Steelers this year, when Mike Tomlin has never done it, is more likely than winning 11. Maybe that's bold. Maybe I'm an idiot, but that's my opinion. Then we've got the Cleveland Browns at 10-7, and this is a big reason I think the Steelers won't win 11. The Browns are really talented, like extremely talented. They have a great pass rush. They have a good secondary. Their defense, with Jim Schwartz coaching it, should actually be real this year. Myles Garrett's one of the premier defensive players in football. And then offensively, if Deshaun Watson is just adequate, they've got great receivers with a good tight end, a great running game, a good offensive line, a pretty good scheme. The Browns are way more talented than Pittsburgh. Like, way more. They have a better offensive line. They go toe-to-toe in the pass rush. They've got a better secondary. They have better linebackers. They have a better receiving core. The tight ends are fairly equal. They've got a way better running game. They've got a more talented quarterback. The only difference is Mike Tomlin to Kevin Stefanski. That's the only real argument Pittsburgh has over Cleveland, period. So I disagree a little bit with the bottom there of the AFC North. AFC South, I agree with Jacksonville winning the division, but I also agree with the Titans. Now, after they got DeAndre Hopkins, I haven't readjusted my record for them yet, and it would be interesting to see where I have them, but I definitely feel they're a legit playoff threat. Now, they have a very strong defense. I think it's top 10. DeAndre Hopkins is going to help that offense a ton, giving them a legit receiver to throw the ball to. Treylon Burks is the number 2. Okoronkwo is a promising tight end. And of course, the King Henry in the backfield. Now, the offensive line is a little sketchy still, and I'm worried about that. But there is like a world where that offensive line could be a lot better than I think, at least looking at it on paper. Daniel Brunskill, Peter Skoronski, former first-round pick Andre Dillard. If they can figure out the 5 that they want, I could see it working for them, and I could actually see Mike Vrabel stealing 9-10 games. So I don't necessarily disagree with that. I also agree with the Texans being the 3rd best team in the division, so I do like that projection a lot. Winning 5-6 games makes a lot of sense for the Texans this year. I think their roster is underrated, and I love the quarterback-coach combo moving forward for them, but they still need a lot of time to kind of grow. And then 4-13 Colts, I think they are the worst team in the AFC, so I would agree with that. The AFC East, oh, buddy. Okay, we got the Buffalo Bills at 13-4, the best team in the AFC decisively, according to USA Today. And I've made a video about the Bills suggesting that they could be a team that's kind of a post-hype contender, I guess. Like, maybe people are now sleeping on their chances to win the Super Bowl after they kind of failed to reach the window that people expected for them, being that they expected them to win last year or the year before, and they didn't. But now the Bills could do it this year. If they stay healthy, if they stay focused, if Allen plays well, certainly could happen. 13-4, I won't necessarily argue. I'll just say the division is very tough to go 13-4. I'd probably have them closer to 12-5. Then we have the New York Jets at 12-5, I think is absolutely ridiculous. I'm just going to be honest. I think the Jets are completely a hype machine. Now, do they have talent? Absolutely. But you also have to factor in they're playing in the best, most competitive division in football. They have not been to the playoffs in I don't know how long. I think 2009 11, 10, and they have a lot of like issues. Their offensive line is really bad and like really worrisome. They've got a lot of young players, a lot of managed personalities you got to deal with here. And then they have the by far worst coaching staff in this division. I think the Jets need to get through their early part of the schedule. If they can get through the early part of the schedule, they got a shot to make the playoffs. Not win 12 games. Make the playoffs with like 9 or 10 wins or 11 wins. 12, I think, is outrageous. I just don't see them starting the season that fast, that quickly. I just don't think in the division, they're going to be outcoached in pretty much every game. So I have an issue with that. I just not a fan of that coaching staff. And I think Rodgers didn't play that well last year. Like, he's going to have to step his game up this year. I like the defense, but they need to force more turnovers than they did late last year. So I think the Jets are kind of a wild card type of team where they could be very good. They've got a lot of talent, but it's a lot to ask. Then you've got the Miami Dolphins, 11-6. I just put out a video about how I just don't trust Miami. Like, there's something about them. They always get injured. There's so many players that have such a long injury history. It's hard to suggest that Miami will win 11 games. It looked like last year they were going to win 11 games, and then they just kind of fell apart. Tua got injured, all that stuff. I could see that happening again, honestly, where they have another Charger-like season where it's like they win 10 or 9 games, but they're kind of underwhelming because they have so much talent, but they just can't seem to put it all together. That's kind of what I think Miami's going to be this year again, and it's going to be probably a little disappointing. I could see it at 11-6 for sure, but I feel like 10 wins, 9 wins, it's probably more likely. I also think that bumps up New England. I feel like 7-10, that's probably most people's projection for them because one team has to suck in this division or at least not be above 500, even though the AFC North is for some reason. But for me, like, I feel like New England is that team where maybe they don't have the ceiling of the Jets or the Dolphins, but I feel like they have a higher floor than both teams. I could see a reality for Pats fans out there where the Bills are the first place team and the Patriots are the second place team. And then the other two teams disappoint. Miami gets injured. The Jets just don't put it together. I could certainly see that happening. I think New England is generally underrated. I would say 8 or 9 wins is more likely for them than 7. I would project closer to 10, but I understand that I'm also a little biased. Then we move to the NFC. The 49ers winning 11 games, I think that's not enough, honestly. I think if Brock Purdy plays, and even if Sam Darnold plays a good portion of games, I think this team wins 12 or 13 games pretty easily, maybe 14 or 15 games. I think they're that talented, they're that well coached, and they have very few flaws. They also don't play a very good schedule. Like, they play the Seahawks, they play the Cowboys, they play the Eagles, but they don't have to play like the gauntlet that the AFC has to play. Then you've got the Seahawks. I agree that they'll make the playoffs as a wild card. I would maybe bump them up a little bit. 10 wins, I think they could win 11, but 10 is about right. I'm not going to super complain about that. I definitely think they'll make the playoffs. Then we have the Los Angeles Rams at 7-10. I don't know what world and what season and what like league this team's playing in. Are they playing in the CFL? Maybe they'll win 7 games in the CFL. I just can't see this team winning 7 games. If I ask the panel of USA Today Sports to name the Rams secondary, would they actually be able to name more than one person? I highly doubt it. I think they just saw Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford, and Cooper Kupp, and they put 7. It's not happening, brother. They're going to win like 4, okay? I'm just saying. Then the Cardinals, 2 is a stretch. I'm just going to be honest, one of the worst teams I've ever seen on paper. Then we've got the NFC North. The Lions at 11 feels a little bit too good to be true. I mean, I want the Lions to do well, and I think they will make the playoffs, and I do think they're going to win their division. But I'm not like 100% certain about that. Like, I think they could win it at like 9-8 or 10-7, and I think that will be enough. Like, I don't think this division will be that good, and I think a lot of teams will struggle. But I also don't think the Lions are going to smooth ride to the playoffs. Like, I just don't see a world where that happens. So 11-6 in comparison to the rest of the division that's all stuck at 7-10 feels a bit unrealistic. The Vikings feel like a 7-10 team, but I could easily see them winning 9 or 10 because of the offense. The Bears at 7-10, if Justin Fields learns how to throw the ball in a forward direction, they might be able to win 7 games, but I'm thinking more about 5 or 6. The Packers at 7-10 feels about right for what the team offers. They've got a talented roster, but a young quarterback that's going to take some time to develop. I think they could win more than people expect, though. I wouldn't be shocked if the Packers made the playoffs, especially with the Vikings. Danielle Hunter's now on the trade block. There's some weird things going on with the Vikings. The NFC South, I think they at least nailed the fact that the top 3 teams are going to be very close. And I think it's going to be a lot like last year where every team is basically separated by 1 game, other than maybe Tampa Bay, which I think they got right here. 5-12 feels about right for the Bucs. They're still pretty talented, but they just don't have the coach or the quarterback that I trust. I think, though, they might be a bit better than a 5-12, but they could also be a bit worse, so that could go either way. I disagree, though. I think the Panthers are going to be better than people think, and I think the Saints are going to be worse than people think. I think the Saints will probably win 8 games, maybe 9, but I feel like Derek Carr is hitting the wall in his career. I think he's only going down from here. The offense, I think, is pretty decent. The O-line's been a bit overrated as of late. The receiving core can be very good. And then you've got to deal with Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas. The defense, I think, might decline a tad, given the age of some of the key pieces, Demario Davis, Tyrann Mathieu. Given the defensive line having the turnover it did, I'm not sure they have the pass rush they once had, the interior defensive line they once had. I think there's going to be issues with their defense more so than past couple of years. So I think they're going to win 8, 9-ish games, 7 maybe at the worst. But I think I like the Panthers. I just feel like their coaching staff is really strong. They're a young, rising team. I think a couple of their players are going to break out. Atlanta, I could also see making the playoffs at 9-8, which they actually have as a wild card, which is very interesting. I could see it, but I'm not sure if I trust it necessarily. It just, Desmond Ridder doesn't feel like the type of guy I want to trust. And the defense, I think, yeah, they added a lot of pieces, but I still have my concerns. I still have concerns at linebacker. I still have concerns at corner. I still have concerns about the defensive ends, pass rushing. So I have concerns about that team, especially a team that's not going to be a pass-heavy team. Are they going to be able to, win in this league, not being a pass-heavy team? I think that's interesting to me. But, I mean, it's such a tough division. I don't even know. The NFC East, I think this one is wild to me. This one is maybe the worst. The Dallas Cowboys only winning 9 games. I don't know who decided on that. How do you look at the Dallas Cowboys roster and decide they're going to win 9 games? I mean, is Dak getting injured? Because then, yeah, maybe I'll buy it. But even then, we saw they could win without their quarterback last year, at least most of the time. So I feel like this team is winning 10-plus games. Without a doubt. I think this team is going to win 12, 13, 14 games. I'm that high on Dallas. And I feel the same about Philadelphia. I feel like Philadelphia, as much as I've kind of been, for Eagles fans out there, hating on the Eagles, I still think they're going to win 12 games. I just think Dallas is also very, very good. And I think Dallas and the Eagles could both win the NFC. So to have Dallas as a wild card 9-8 team, that's just insane to me. The Washington Commanders at 7-10 feels about right, but it depends on Sam Howell. I think this defense is underrated, and I think Sam Howell is a bit underrated. We don't really know yet, but I feel like this team could easily make the playoffs. I wouldn't be shocked if the Commanders all of a sudden, if the Eagles won 12, the Cowboys won 12 or 11 or something like that, and then Washington won 9 and snuck in the playoffs, I wouldn't be shocked. And maybe Washington and the Giants swap places. I could totally see that. The Giants winning 6 does feel a bit disrespectful to Brian Daboll and what they accomplished last year. Daniel Jones, I think, is a bit better than 6 wins, too. So, they improved their defense. They improved their roster. I understand they got very lucky last year, and they were very good in situational football in general. But I think they should win at least 7 games. I just think they're too well coached. They did get better. So to me, like, I can see the Giants making the playoffs at, again, 9-8-ish, but I could also see them missing with 7 or 8 wins, and I wouldn't be shocked, but 6 just feels a bit extreme to me. So those are the record predictions for USA Today Sports. Let me know your reaction in the comment section below, guys. I went through each team actually a bit longer than I thought I would, and it kind of got me a little fired up. It's interesting to me. There's a lot of interesting ones. There's some craziness going on here, as you guys can tell. Let me know what you guys agreed with, disagreed with, and how they align with your predictions for the season. It's Mitch. Thanks for watching. Gronk, spike the like button. Peace.